This week, the Biden campaign made a dramatic announcement calling for nationwide mask mandates. This is something that the President of the United States has no constitutional authority to enact. Trump has often stated that he has left the decision to enforce wearing masks to the states. No president has the dictatorial power to order American citizens to wear masks outdoors. Let's see what Joe Biden had to say on August 13th.
Is that as Americans are lining up to give blood, Americans volunteer all their time for food banks.
He sounds confused.
Charities, supporting their neighbors that are in need. Well, this is no different. Wearing a mask is less about you contracting the virus, although it does help depending on the mask, but it's about preventing other people from getting sick. Wearing a mask will give the life of a clerk in your local store, your letter carrier, your child's teacher. It will increase their prospects of not.
The news media missed the dramatic importance of what Joe Biden said after talking about the nationwide mask mandate. He said this would allow your school teacher to return to work.
Wearing a mask is going to get our kids back to school sooner and safer. Wearing a mask, every American wearing a mask outdoors is going to get our businesses back.
He said that he would require, as president, for every American outdoors to be wearing a mask at all times. So if you are standing on top of a mountain, Joe Biden will be there wagging his finger at you, demanding that you put a mask on. But he mentioned twice his goal, as of August 13th, to return students to the classroom. Why is this such a dramatic statement? Well, he made this after selecting Kamala Harris as his running mate. What was Biden and Jill Biden telling people 1 month ago?
And we know how hard it's going to be for families all across the country.
It's hard for the kids who want to get back to normal routines and see their friends. It's hard for parents struggling to balance work and childcare commitments. It's hard for educators who more than anything want to be with their students. I know I do.
Everyone wants our schools reopened. The question is how to make it safe, how to make it stick. Forcing educators and students back into a classroom in areas where the infection rate is going up or remaining very high is just plain dangerous.
Teachers are tough. We're right there with our students for all of their ups and downs. We pick them up when they fall. But it's wrong to endanger educators and students. We need a better plan.
You know, it has to start by getting cases down in our communities. That's step one. It means wearing a mask, following social distance guidelines, ensuring effective testing and tracing, and that workers have the protective equipment they need to be safe. Donald Trump may have waved the white flag and given up, but the rest of us can't do that.
Schools and parents alike want a clear, science-based strategy, not mixed messages and ultimatums. We're all asking, how low should the infection rate be to reopen? How big should class sizes be? And if we can't accommodate everyone, which students should be brought back first? But instead of answers, we've been left to improvise.
To reopen safely, schools and child care centers need funds so that they can implement the changes they need to make, to buy the protective equipment for their staffs and children, to ensure proper ventilation, to upgrade broadband technology. You know, if I were president, I'd be sending a funding bill right now to the Congress today.
As long as we have to keep learning remotely, we need to ensure students have access to broadband and other technology, no matter where they live.
Now, the Bidens made a number of statements, and I'm going to go ahead and list them here. Here are the takeaways from the Joe and Jill Biden speech from Biden's basement in July 2020. Classrooms must remain closed as long as cases aren't declining. Biden would sign a remote learning bill immediately, keeping children at home indefinitely, for years if necessary. Biden states that Trump has made contradictory messages. Biden states that Trump has gone against science. Now here's coordination from the teachers' unions who are run by the Democratic Party with the statements made by Joe and Jill Biden back in July. Take a look at this teacher's sign. I can teach from a distance, but not a coffin. And here you can see the signs from the teachers. Word for word, a duplicate of what Jill and Joe Biden said at the same time. For this accusation about the President Trump not following science, he's been consulting with the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, since the onset of the pandemic. It was politicians like Joe Biden who sought to make political advantage by attacking President Trump for blocking travel to and from China at the onset of the pandemic. Joe Biden said Trump was xenophobic and racist. Trump was right, Joe Biden was wrong. And they continue to harp this, that Trump is against science. But in his daily CDC press briefings, Trump has steadfastly taken questions and had the experts answering questions. You may not have seen this on networks like CNN, who do not actually cover the CDC daily press briefings from the White House. And I would encourage you to go on YouTube and watch these briefings in full.
In order to cut down the number of kids returning back to school, and teachers here say that's...
Now this is amazing. They're utilizing children as propaganda props. This is a typical Marxist tactic used all over the world in communist countries, where children are used as political props to push a message. We saw this with, I think, that environmental activist girl, where if you criticize her, you're attacking a child. So the leftist tactic is always to put children out as their propaganda message bearers.
A big mistake.
This woman was out there with a megaphone repeating the talking points of the Bidens. What she didn't know is precisely 1 month later.
I get occasionally confronted with a person in the public about wearing a mask. I say, look, this is America. Be a patriot.
In modern definition terms, being a patriot means doing what the Democratic Party orders you to do. As of last month, that was to keep school children and teachers out of the classroom.
Most districts are asking parents to pick one or the other, in school or online learning. And teachers say they realize parents need to get back to work. They realize that many...
There, using the children again. You don't have the courage to stand up for the talking points that Joe Biden and the Democratic National Committee ordered the teachers' unions told you to say. No, you have to use children to propagandize for you because your statements aren't good enough.
Many kids simply don't do well with online education, and it isn't an given the rise in case numbers in our area. Teachers say that now is not...
And this teacher's sign is pretty good. Save lives, keep schools closed. That's what she was ordered to say and think and protest by the teachers' unions. The teachers' unions work for the Democratic National Committee, and Joe Biden is the selected candidate by them. She was just repeating what the Bidens said to say back in July. Why would Biden have changed from the July message? Well, he didn't consult the teachers or the science. He consulted the polls. The polls showed that Americans are in favor of returning school children to real classrooms and to be taught by real teachers. The Biden campaign released the very next day, August 14th.
We're seeing it again. The virus spreading out of control.
What is it about that commercial that in the first 4 seconds that is either a lie or a contradiction from what the Biden said last month? This is the Biden campaign's own ad in order to frighten the American electorate into going to the polls and voting for Biden, that the virus is spreading out of control. But if the virus is spreading out of control, why does Joe say at the same time we need to get students back to the classroom? Jill Biden said last month that you can't return children to the classroom until these infection rates are going down. That's what all these school teachers were ordered to protest. Infection rates have to go down before they show up. That's what the message was last month. Joe Biden reads a poll. It says you have to reopen the schools, so he goes along with the poll. They have a commercial airing the next day.
Joe Biden knows we need to listen to medical experts and...
So that's the mantra the Democrats have repeated every day, along with their sympathetic news outlets, that President Trump does not consult with medical experts. He has been consulting with medical experts. They just refuse to show you his daily press briefings, where you can hear from the CDC experts every day whenever there's one of these briefings.
Take action now. That starts by expanding testing, calling for mask mandates nationwide, starting immediately, and
protective gear for healthcare workers. Now, obviously, Congress and the President have already passed stimulus spending in the trillions of dollars for precisely those things. How is it that a television commercial airing August 14th calls for nationwide mask mandates? Joe Biden announced this policy August 13th. Now, this is the digital age. You can make a commercial very quickly. But think of how this commercial is already airing in the local market. There is no way you could get a commercial to air this quickly if Joe Biden came up with the idea on August 13th. You have to select ad rates. You have to consult television markets, find the best deal. There's a lot of legwork involved in getting television commercials purchased and put on the air. There is no way this commercial was created the day after Joe Biden said nationwide mask mandates. This was done weeks ago. So apparently Joe Biden was the last person told on his entire campaign team. After deciding weeks ago that we needed nationwide mask mandates, the Democratic Party and the Biden campaign finally put the piece of paper in front of him on August 13th and said, "Joe, read this." And he read that. But the rest of the people working for his campaign already knew about this weeks ago. Otherwise, there would be no way they had a commercial ready on August 14th.
Here at home, fighting this virus and rebuilding our economy will take a president who's ready to...
What is the message of the Biden campaign? The virus is President Trump's fault, that Joe Biden has the solution. We've already shown here how President Trump has not gone against the science. He's been consulting the CDC regularly, which is why he has increased testing and made available the medical supplies that were requested of him by a state governor. Biden and his wife stated that Trump had made contradictory messages, which is not true. The Biden campaign has contradicted themselves from July to August. Joe Biden has stated contradictory messages. Why is it that schools have to be closed and we require remote learning to be implemented in July? But then he reads a poll and suddenly says we're going to reopen the schools, even though Biden's own commercial says virus cases are spiraling out of control. But Biden's wife said you can't reopen schools until virus cases go down. And that's what all these teachers' signs say too. So Joe Biden himself has had contradictory messages. Joe Biden has chosen to make a virus the leading political message in a presidential campaign. Democrats across the country hope to take advantage from a nonpartisan virus to increase their political power. I would remind you of how the country dealt with the 2009 swine flu pandemic. Republicans and Democrats united together to battle a nonpartisan virus. No one thought to take political advantage by attacking President Barack Obama over his slow response to 12,000 American deaths in 2009 from H1N1 swine flu. No reporter blamed President Obama for being wrong or acting slowly in declaring a national emergency for this pandemic. No news organization blamed President Obama. No Republican politician blamed President Obama. Instead, the nation came together with no polarization, in total unity, to fight something that affected us all. And the Republicans could have chosen to make political hay out of this, maybe pick up a few Senate seats, maybe pick up a few House seats. But the Republicans didn't do this because they saw that panicking the American people would have been worse than working with President Obama. They chose to work with President Obama because the American people came first. Why is that such a hard concept for Joe Biden to understand? In Joe Biden's world, polarizing and dividing the American electorate is important. The power of the Democratic Party is the only thing that matters during this pandemic. And the proof is right here in the differing statements between July and August. Can't open schools until rates come down. We're going to open schools regardless of whether our TV commercial says rates are spiraling out of control. Why is there a difference between the 2 months? Because Joe Biden respects the polls, not the science. Joe Biden views his power as more important than the health and safety of the people of the United States. So when you're making your decision this year for who should be president, should it be this man who has contradicted himself on a monthly basis about what the best approach is for fighting the coronavirus? Or should it be this man who has been consistent from the beginning? Thank you.